Many people talk about the ups and downs of married life, but no one really prepares you for life after your spouse passes away. Welcome to Widowhood Real Talk with Tina, a safe place for widows, widowers, and their friends and family to talk about love and loss. Find comfort as you listen to honest conversations between Tina and invited guests who've experienced the loss of their forever partner. Share their stories of love, grief, and healing. You are not alone in this journey. Join today's episode and discover a wealth of resources and learn how to connect with others who are traveling the same path. This is Widowhood Real Talk with Tina.
Hello, Widowhood. Our conversation today with Florine Hurdle is going to be spicy. She is having a conversation about how we as widows are still alive and the thoughts of romance that still exist. And companion to that conversation is on her second book, is a conversation that allows people to how to support a widow in their first year. She provides extensive details on how to support a widow, a guide for clergy, and so much more. Let's get into this conversation now. Hello, Florine. Welcome to the Widowhood.
Well, hello, Miss Tina. I'm glad to be here.
So people would say, glad to be in the widowhood? Like, really? Like, what's the ticker tape when you think widowhood, the first thing that comes into mind for you?
Well, initially for me, widowhood is somebody who is like in her 70s, like in her 80s. Like she has lived some life. She has been some places. She has done some things, accomplished some things. And she is rocking her crown of gray or silver hair. I'm saying your crown is looking good.
But what did it look like for you being in widowhood?
Ooh, for me, it was probably more of a shock. The initial, like, really? He's not coming back? You're kidding. No. This somebody else's life I'm living. I think I'm in a movie. Like I'm portraying somebody else's life. I'm acting this out to try to help somebody else. Yeah.
And somebody may hear that and they go, well, she has to know it was a real thing, or why could you not understand that happened? But when that sudden, and you talk about in one of your books about 0 to 100, they're gone, they're snatched, there's no return. Looking from the outside before I was this close to it, I would have thought, okay, but being in this space, I'm like, oh yeah, those are things you think about. It's like they on a work trip, y'all playing. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, it was my husband was a military vet, so I treated it as, oh, he's on tour. Like he getting ready to walk through the door any minute, any day. He gonna drag the money boots in here, and I'm gonna have to fuss at him and tell him, sir, please take your stuff to the garage. Like you're making a mess. That was for me.
And how long, and maybe now, to realize this is the reality. He is not coming home.
It's probably like a daily thing. Like it's a moment to moment thing.
Yeah.
And that is because, there are still triggers. There are still things that resurface that I'm like, oh, or maybe even for me really is like when I'm out and about and I see a young Black man, bald headed with a goatee. Now, I don't know that until he turns around, but even turning around, when you see this image, I'm like, ooh, oh, okay, that's not him. So there has been a couple of times that has happened to me where I'm like, oh, I know that's not my husband. Okay. Because I was going to tap on the shoulder and be like, sir, turn around. Where you been at the last almost 8 years of my life? Don't be a double agent. Don't be a double agent.
8 years. We are in the same timeline of that process.
Yeah.
And if you would have told me 8 years, I would still be grieving Mark. Before he passed, like if someone ever told me, flip into the future, Mark would be past 8 years and there would still be a part of me grieving him, I would say that makes no sense. But right now, I'm like, this forever. This is a life journey. And I say that from the perspective of someone that has remarried. That does not change it. What has widowhood been for you in the daily experience compared to someone you may have supported that lost a loved one before your husband passed?
Oh, daily. Daily is it's choosing to live. Daily is choosing to say, okay, you got a whole son. You got to show him what it's like to live for him, like for his father, for your husband. Because I'm still carrying his good name. And one of the things that I choose to tell myself daily is you still carry his name, and not just his name, but you're a representative of the kingdom. What does it look like to represent both God and him and honor them both daily? Choosing to live like past the fact that I got to wake up with this pillow next to me every night and wake up every morning like, okay, it's still a real thing. It's not a dream. It's okay, it's my reality. And so I think for me, daily choosing to still go back to the same workplace that I was stuck at where I could not get to my husband in time and walk past that section of cubicles every day and say, that's where I was. And I couldn't get out because I didn't have the car that morning because he had dropped me off for work and went to his appointment to the VA and said, babe, you better be out here at 4:00 when I pick you up. Like, babe, I can't be out here at 4 and clock out at the same time at 4. It's not happening. And give me a kiss and tell me that you love me, only to know that is the last time. That is imprinted on my mind daily when I get into the same vehicle and go to the same workplace. It's a choice. It's okay, I'm going to live. But how can I just live in this day?
Wow. Your husband's name, if you would share with us.
His name is Omar.
Omar.
Yes. Omar. Mm-hmm.
Look at that smile just go.
Omar. Yes.
So I'm going to give you a little fun fact.
Okay.
I still carry my late husband's last name.
Oh, okay. I love that.
And I'll tell you, when I got married, I was at work and one of my coworkers was like, well, when are you going to change your last name? I was like, I did not factor this in. Like,
right.
As we just said, we on the upper side of 50, like, and also my children.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, this could be the deal breaker. So we were out to eat. And I said, so what do you think about, names and changing names? And he goes, you talking about you change your name? And he said, your children would not have a parent in this world with the same last name.
Wow.
And I was like, Daddy, see, okay, but then afterwards he gonna say, and you're kind of old to be doing all that. I was like, then I ask you for that, sir.
Right. I didn't ask for the 2 cents.
I know. Ask you for a 1 piece, not a 2 piece. But that is important to me. Mm-hmm. I was with my late husband for 32 years.
Wow.
I am Tina Cornwall. Yeah. That is who I am.
Yeah.
So that's not always a requirement. Just that little nugget in there.
I appreciate it because, you got all the nuggets.
You mentioned with such compassion about your faith. And in this journey, there are some people that is the last component of the grief journey they don't want to be involved in. Was there a part of this where you were ever stepping away from God, or was that your stronghold?
There was for me when I went to the funeral, right? And they do that last walking past, right? The casket when it's open. And you go first because you're the wife. And so I stood there and I looked at him and I said, I just want to make sure this is not a prank. Because if it is, it's working and I don't like you right now. Oh, okay. I really had to make sure because he was such a prankster. He was my laughter. He was my medicine that made me just smile and enjoy life. And I did it at the viewing, and I had to make sure like you were following through. Okay, but what really solidified it for me was, right, I placed my hand on his hand, and it was the coldest it had ever been. And I said, okay, you're really not coming back. And I just looked down at him and I said, I know that your body is here, but if the Lord said that you could stand here and witness all of this, I just want you to know I believe in resurrection and I will see you again. To me, death is a doorway, and you can choose by faith to walk to it and through it, or you can choose to close it and not and go the other way. So for me, it was really life, death decision. It's a fork in the road that we have to truly choose. And I chose God because I said, God, you were the one who brought us through what we thought was the most horrific part of our marriage. And if you can do that, I'm choosing you every time. And it was a daily thing. I talked to God daily. It was, I'm giving you the business, God. Like, you're going to get my anger. You're going to get my sadness. You're going to get my happiness. You're going to get my tears. You're going to get me punching this pillow. You're going to get me, there was a time where somebody took my child because he was 10 when it happened, turning 11. And they said, hey, we're going to take him for a couple hours. Well, at first I was like, no, don't do that. I need him. But then there was a time where God was like, I need you to let him go so that we can deal with each other one-on-one. And I literally stood in my house and I yelled. I said, oh, so you want a deal? Oh, I'm finna give it all. I'm finna be like Tarzan, and I'm finna beat my chest, and I'm finna snot nose. And so those few hours at a time I needed. And it, for me, truly being in his presence was everything. So I do. I stand on God. I stand on my faith. I stand on the fact that Jesus said, I am resurrection. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That is so powerful. For the person that's listening to this and they feel like God failed them or personally attacked them by taking their loved one, what would you share with them?
I would be like, I understand. I had those same feelings. I had that same anger, that same frustration, that same disappointment. And that's what I would agree to, because it's going to take time and it's going to take a willingness on your part to really just let go. And that's going to be a day to day and a moment to moment. It was not an easy path for me either. It was, I had to really, because there was a point where I was like, I crossed my arms at God and I was like, no, how? Why? We were getting ready to live in our most pivotal, what we call golden year experience, where we were going to raise Junior up, kick him out of the house, go to college or military or whatever. And we were going to live our golden years. So for you, the way that you're feeling right now, I would say it's legitimate. It's okay. There's nothing wrong with saying, hey, not right now. But if you have faith before that was the size of a mustard seed, I just say God is going to continue to pursue your heart because he loves you that much. And he's going to send people, and he's going to send like words of encouragement, and your algorithm on your phone or your computer or your device, because he loves you. And that's what I would say to that person.
I would agree with all of that. I'm going to take it a step further.
Okay.
For the clergy that has a person come into their office and express the same sentiment, And up until now, they've given pat answers or rhetoric. What would you offer them as far as how they can show up for that person?
Oh, I would say don't give them cliche, and don't give them, oh, it's going to be all right. And don't, right now, I would say don't even give them Bible, because we don't want to hear that. When it's raw and it's fresh and it's within that first year or two, we're not trying to hear Bible. Not at all. I had to seek the Bible for myself when I was ready. I would just say, be there. Do the day and everyday conversation. I would say, like, genuinely, when you ask, how are you doing? Be open to receive what she has to say. Be open to her feelings and how raw they are in that moment. And don't say, oh, everything's going to be all right. No, 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 no. Acknowledge what she's saying. Acknowledge that she's angry. Acknowledge that 1 minute she is sad, but then she remembers something good and she transferred. Like, we can go from cold to hot real quick. Like, at a drop of a dime, I could have all what I call all 4 seasons in one moment. So just acknowledge that. As a leader in the body, we have to learn to be sensitive to acknowledging what is taking place first before we're already formulating all the Bible verses that's going to support what she's feeling. She don't want to hear that, right? She just wants you to just be present. And sometimes don't say nothing. Just let her unload. A lot of times we just want to just get it out. And then once done, just be like, okay.
I hear the idea, and thank you for that. Holding a safe space, validating their feelings and their emotions, and not judging them.
Yeah, exactly.
And just letting it be, because it is what it is.
Yeah, it is. It is what it is. It's period. Like, period. That's what it is. That's what it is.
I want to ask, I'm gonna make a pivot to the first book.
Okay.
And then she bounced back, standing on broken pieces. And Maya Tyler has been a guest on our podcast. She's one of the contributing people here on your book here.
Yeah.
So so this is the cover. I have a few things that I want to pull out.
Okay.
I want to read a few things. And then if you would just share what you feel or where that stands with you now, what resonates.
Okay.
This is in the foreword. It says, my hope is that as you read the stories of overcoming obstacles, you are empowered to face your trauma from whatever might have tried to break you. My hope is that you have the courage, like these ladies, to stand on the broken pieces of your pain and declare healing despite your fears.
When I hear that now, I think, wow, you really did make it to 8 years. When I was writing that, I was within my first, like my second, third year going into that time period. And there was a widow sister that I knew. She was in her 8, 9 year mark. And I was looking at her like, I don't think I'm going to make it that far. How am I supposed to live life without my life partner? And so in thinking about pieces, right, that cover for me really is everything. I'm so glad that we decided to go with it, because when I was growing up, I was a huge Cinderella fan. That glass slipper meant everything when I was younger. Like, oh, Prince Charming coming to my door, but we finna do the thing, and I'm finna leave you out there. Peace. Like, so when I think about that, though, in the shattering of that image, for me, that was shattering all the stereotype of every woman that has ever, at that point, existed in my mind, talking about Cinderella, talking about just everybody in even nowadays, like that we could ever live up to. But here's the thing. The pieces for me that I stand on now, my pain, my broken heart, parenting solo and trying to raise a boy who is now becoming a young man, those broken pieces, it's like God took those pieces and he remolded them. He says that I am the potter and you are the clay. And I just feel like he took those pieces and he's making a new jar. He's making a new pot where even in those still cracks that are still there, because like you said earlier, being a widow is going to be a part of my life because he was my love. And so still God's glory will seep through those broken pieces still, because they'll be for him. And that's what makes me whole still. As I continue to grow, as I continue to not so much walk on these broken pieces now, but I get to now hold them and look at them and say, okay, yeah, they're still a part of me. And I can now look at them and smile versus look at them in frustration or in anger and all those types of things. So it's, for me, it's the remolding process. It's the acknowledging that they're there and knowing that they're there, and I'm okay with it.
Thank you. The idea of not even being able to comprehend that's possible. The idea someone go, well, you were 2 years out. Surely you could see that there's some hope. But it is impossible to grasp. I was with the man I love. Life was good. I was happy. We're serving God. We doing everything right. How could I ever want to smile again? Am I betraying him by even doing that? What does it look like that I could find a life that's happy for me and be okay with it?
I think to smile again, I kind of touched base on that too in the book about really kind of the smile and acknowledging. A lot of us don't even want to say widow. And then a lot of us don't even want to transition to single. Like when I had to file taxes, I was like, head of household. What? Single. And then I get mad when they don't even have the option for widow. Like I want widow when I want to have the option because I'm not single. Like I'm not like, so I think really to encourage somebody who is in this waiver period of those types of questions, I would say like, take your time. There is no right way. There is no wrong way to this process. And so when you're ready to say, okay, yep, I'm a widow. Great. When you're ready to say, head of household, okay, that's where I'm at. And that's great. This also ties into a lot of people ask about when is the right time to take off the wedding band? When is it? When are you going to get rid of his clothes in the closet? Like, first of all, why are you in my closet? This is mine. And second of all, I'm going to take off the wedding band when I'm good and ready. And I was good and ready around year 5. I was okay with that. I still have his wedding band and my wedding band together. I just don't wear mine now because I have come into, we'll call it acknowledging my singleness.
So let me show you. These are our wedding bands.
Oh,
I took them to a jeweler and had them reshaped.
beautiful.
The inner heart is my wedding band and the outer heart is Mark's wedding band.
That's beautiful. That's such a great idea. I love that.
And thank you. The idea of wearing it on a chain drew too much attention that I did not want from people.
Mm-hmm.
And this to me feels more like continual love.
Yeah.
I can wear this and never tell somebody it looks like a piece of jewelry, or I can choose to share the journey and what this represents.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to just put it away. That caused me, the idea of when to take it off, it happened because where I worked, there was a lot of people that I would tour and it always became a point of conversation. And that did not fare well the first time somebody asked me. They got way more than they wanted. And I was like, okay, so we need to not do that. And so when I took it off, I wore this ring for 29 years. My finger was shriveled in the space and just and I just cried just looking at my hand and
Mhm.
looking at that. And I immediately went out and purchased another pair of jewelry just to put something on my finger, but it wasn't the wedding band. And it is interesting. I think people ask us questions and they're trying to help us move along, but are they?
No, no. My wife, sisters, and I have decided to be like, we're going to write a book and we're going to ask every widow, and we might even co-author with some widowers to be like, please tell us what is the most foolish thing. Now, some get real nasty. They'd be like, stupid thing that somebody has said to you in your journey that call themselves helping you. No, don't don't say stuff like, it's going to be okay. You're young. You'll find another. Oh, when I say it took all of me, all of me, all of me. Ooh, to not lose all that Jesus gave me that day. It was the day I put him in the ground. I'm sitting at the kitchen table. Well, you're young. You'll find another. I almost had I hate to go old school, but I had almost like a whole Beetlejuice exorcist moment where my head was finna spin and be like, have you lost your everlasting? Like, your everlasting. I stood up from the table and I made it clear to all that could hear is what we not finna do. Yep, I said it. Finna do is talk about how I'm young and I'm gonna find another. I just put my whole everything, my husband in the ground, and this what we got? We're not talking about anything like that until I'm good and ready to talk about it. And I left the room.
And when the mic dropped, okay.
Mhm.
So in this book, oh, in the shards of singleness, the Bible verse that you have listed here is Song of Solomon, first chapter, verse 2, King James Version. Let him kiss me with the kisses of his mouth, for your love is more delightful than wine. Did you know that there is a whole book in the Bible dedicated to marital sex and romance? Oh, yes, there is. I am not talking about love chapter in First Corinthians. I'm talking about that pretty racy thing. Things that begin like one night as I lay in bed, I yearn for my lover. Song of Solomon 3:1.
Yes, honey. That get me hot just hearing it. Just, my Lord. My
Jesus. Mm.
goodness. Yeah, that book is fire. That book is fire. Let me just preface with that context. Like, if you want to turn up the flame in your marriage, I'm just saying, go to this book. It will not fail you.
Talking about how bosoms is ripe. And I'm like,
Oh, yeah. I said, hold on, bosoms. Wait a minute. It is. It is a book that when my husband and I had hit where we were on the brink of divorce and we were reestablishing foundation, and I was like, okay, God, if I'm gonna give you everything, I'm gonna give you all of me. And let me see, it was probably our 12th wedding anniversary where I was like, Lord, what can I do differently to continue to build trust, to communicate, to do all the things? And I was in my word like white as on bread. And so I said, what is this Songs of Solomon? And I'm reading this now at night. It's probably like evening, 7, 8 o'clock. And my soldier is asleep because he got to get up in the morning, right? So he peacefully sleeping. I'm sitting on the floor with my back leaned up against the bed, and I'm reading. And I'm like, and I'm just like getting like, and then I'm like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have read this. Oh my gosh. And I'm on fire. I'm on fire. my whole insides is turning hot. I said, ooh, I might need to just tap him on the shoulder and be like, you got time? You got time? Cause I'm hot. Can we just real quick, like I need some resolve. Like I need some resolve. And so I read that and I'm thinking to myself, like, why didn't I read this before? Why was this not introduced to me when I first got married or even in year 5? Or why are we not talking about this? And so not only did I stumble upon that, I had stumbled upon another book that talks about how we don't talk about sex in church. And I said, we need to talk about this. But anyway, reading that, and the reason why I open with that is because that's exactly what I do every night. And what I've learned is that most widows, that's where we struggle the most at, is at night. Because we got to climb into, now some, not all, that same bed. That same bed. And that's where I'm at. I climb into that same bed and I've had to get new pillows. Because the body pillows, they don't hold long enough like they used to. And they're not as firm as what a muscle, like laying on a chest or a bicep, or even just hearing some lungs go, like, not the same. And so for me to open with that is because I want people to understand, like, the Bible, the word is everything for me. That's what has sustained me through this journey, is finding all my answers, or even when I have questions, that there are others that have had the same questions in there. And so, yeah, I mean, I know, like, some didn't have it all the way right in his life, but King, you definitely wrote this book right. I'm just saying, if you need some words for a card, check this one out. I'm just saying, Hallmark ain't got nothing on Song of Solomon. Yeah.
Cold turkey.
Mm.
Losing my husband meant I had to give up that cold turkey. No weaning, no warning, just 100 to 0, full stop, the end. One day you were having that body to body contact and all that sweet and heavy breathing, and then nothing, snatched, gone. I want to say this. People act like because your husband died, you still don't get horny. You still don't have desires. He died, not me. And I was still used to whatever we was used to, and we tripping inside. But what would you say to that? What comes to mind to you now after reading this?
Oh, I'm still hot and burning. I'm still hot and burning. So I'm learning too, like, I'm in my 40s, and they say women in their 40s, their sex drive is, you know what I'm saying? Like, we up there. Like, so I'm praying, like, Lord, help me. Like, ooh, do we need to fast today? Because I'm hot. Do we need to fast because my anniversary coming up and I'm used to my birthday coming up? I ain't getting none. Let's pray about this. There are times though, like, you could be just minding your own good business, and you're cool and calm and collected. Nothing, out of the ordinary. And then you get a whiff, or you might see a body type similar to his physique. And then it's like, oh Jesus. Where's a fan? Because I'm hot. That smell, that food, that whatever it is. Or there was a period where I could not watch romance on a show or a movie, because I'm like, oh, that's a trigger. Because I'm like, ooh, fast forward, or ooh, turn it off, turn it off, turn it off, turn it off, turn it off. Can't do it. My sex drive all the way alive.
And so I was dusty. Mark died, and I thought I was about to become a nun.
Oh.
In my mind, I was like, okay, he died. I'm probably going to have to be like sneaking to another town because I don't know how this going to work, because Reverend Tina should not be found someplace with somebody. But there was nothing. And I was like, how? I was like, God is trying to keep me. That's what God doing, because He knows that
Yeah.
I would be a hot mess. And I've heard people talk about widow fire, all these other different things. And I was like, this is boring. I was like, okay, maybe it left with him. But the first time I met my current husband, she said, hey girl, I was like, shh, shh, shh. Like, right here, you gonna be sat talk to me? I ain't heard from you in years now.
And that's the Oliver. She like, hey.
I was like, now I need me to pay attention. I don't need you trying to get in the way. I was like, okay, we have hope. So
Mm-hmm.
it is possible for those who have been dusty.
Yes, yes.
Moving on to the fire book.
Okay.
I am longing for those sacred moments of physical romance. Brush here or a touch there. Looks of longing, long sighs, and sweet gestures. It's those that I want. The absence of routine and everyday physical connection is probably the most emotionally isolating aspect of this whole predicament.
I still miss those moments. I do. Those be the ones that are the most sacred. When I'm sitting in the quiet, and no electronics, no TV. I think about those moments. I think, gosh, if you're here right now, you'd be trying to slap my booty. Or if you're here right now, we might be cuddled up on the couch and you would kiss me on my forehead. I don't know what it is with these forehead kisses, like, but he would give them to me. And I'd be like, that's not fair. You're showing me that I'm short. He said, because you are to me. Like, so you remember those candid moments, and those are more than what sex can ever bring. And those are the memories that are imprinted on your mind more so than having that intimate moment with him. Yes, two bodies becoming one and all the goodness that comes with that. But for me, it's just like those physical, intimate moments are what comes to mind when I think about him. It's those hand holding moments when we're out in public and you decide to hold my hand and lock fingers and just say, I love you just because. Or you hold me in your arms like we're two teenagers still and we giddy in the mall and they looking at us like, ew, disgusting. Those are the moments that I miss. And even our intellectual conversation that would stimulate my thought process, where you would be like, this is the vision that I see. And I would be able to dissect it and ask questions on how can I continue to help this vision that you see, because I might not see all the details, but you do. Those types of moments are what I miss.
For the widow that's listening to this conversation and she has felt ashamed for feeling this way in her husband's passing, what would you share to her?
I would say, first of all, there is no shame in that. I would say you are allowed to cherish those moments. I would say it's okay to hold on to those. Those are your most sacred memories. I almost call them like a glass jar or a glass box. And those you keep those in there. It's almost like your heart. Like that's what that is. And it's okay to express those. It's okay to share those, of course, with the appropriate audience. Because not everybody is going to understand that type of expression. And so I would encourage her to share those, of course, in her therapy session, share those with a trusted friend, share those if she's in a widow community, she can share them there because we understand. And if she doesn't have community, that's when I would encourage her to be like, find someone who also is a widow because she would understand.
Very wise words. My last highlight for this part of this book. As I am doing this, there was a night when I went to sleep and I had a dream. I know that it's common to dream But this dream was different because I didn't dream about my husband. I dreamt about another man. Parentheses, yes, a man that I knew. Explanation point, parentheses. I was like, and she wrote about it? Come on now.
Hey.
And no, we didn't have sex. All that happened was that we had a conversation and laughed together. That was it. It was like God was showing me three things with this dream. One, he answered my prayers. I was in the right place by putting myself out there and being in the environment of other single people. He answered my doubts, confirming that no, he did not make mistakes in the timing of my singleness. Number three, he was letting me know it was okay to entertain the idea of another man, that it could be fun, wholesome, and welcome in my spirit if I just gave it a chance.
100%. That was when I realized that I was not dead. That's when I realized that it was like an awakening. Is really the feeling that it is. A lot of times, like you were talking about, right? Because my son dubbed that season where I felt like there was nothing. He called it my cobweb season. Sir, not nice.
But not no lie detected.
Right, exactly. And so, but it was like I went to sleep that night. I sat up. It was like a mummy experience. Like you sit up and you're like, what just happened? That was not my husband. But the beauty, of course, in that is while it was somebody that I was familiar with, I was just like, but it was okay because God, what you're showing me, it's okay to talk to the opposite sex. Like I don't have to shy away from it. Now, am I going to be a little awkward? Probably. I was. Sometimes still am because I'm like, what? How do we? Yeah. That's kind of like how it goes until I can kind of realize to get my bearings. Like, girl, you are a whole human. You can talk. Like, you can do this.
It's so weird, though.
It is. And it's like you don't. Once I kind of came to the realization of like you don't have to impress nobody, then it worked. I'm like, yes. But for me, that period, that dream kind of triggered some things that I could go before God. And I was like, okay, God, what? And I'm a dream journal kind of girl. Like I wrote it all down, all the details, what I was feeling. And so I would just encourage somebody else who maybe is dreaming, like keep a dream journal next to your bed with a pen and paper because dreams are important because a lot of times God is speaking to you through them, whether that's to warn you or to confirm some things or to encourage your heart. And that was an encouragement for me to say, you are all the way human. You are all the way still alive. Your blood still flow from your head to your feet. And even in those important parts. And so for me, it was just great. Yeah, take a sip, honey, because you're all the way alive. And so it's amazing the when and the how God will do that for you. And everybody's will be different. You know, yours was different, mine was different. And the person who watches this, theirs will be different. And it's going to be able to illuminate for you the essence of, oh, my insides still work. I still get butterflies. I can still talk to the other sex. Okay, I can do this.
Yeah. Before we move on to book 2, can you share how people can contact you, where they can find your book and other things you're doing in the widow community?
Sure. So the book is on Amazon, or you can go to my Instagram page, which don't laugh, don't judge, but I'm Flow to Lit. Yes, I am Flow to Lit. That's FLO, the number 2, LITT. And you can go to my bio up there and you can order the book through me personally and you can get an autographed copy if you'd like. And then as far as I also have Facebook, and that's just my name, Florine Hurdle. if you so desire to connect with me there. Now, as far as other things that I'm doing, of course, I'm super excited. I do partner with God and I lead a widow's ministry as well. And I'm honoring my ladies tonight. I told them I would wear our newest shirt. And of course, that says wife on the shirt. So I'm super
I want one of those. Okay, I
yeah.
want
And so
one.
that stands for Widows Igniting the Flame of Excellence. That is our sisterhood. And I absolutely have been doing this now for about 7 out of the 8 years that I have been a widow. And I have enjoyed my relationship with God through this whole process. And right now we have a community of probably about almost 40 ladies. And they are stretched right now, I have to say, across the United States, something I thought I would never say. And so, yeah, God got a sense of humor. Like, I was all the way in my dwelling space. And then I came back from my first cruise in January. And he was like, here you go, here you go, here you go, here you go, here you go. And it was like, I felt like I was onboarding a new sister. It felt like every week, one or two every week. That's what it feels like. And they were all the way stretched across. I have a sister in New Jersey, a couple of them in Georgia. I got a couple of them in Florida. And then I have the privilege to have one all the way in Hawaii. I said, girl, I'm coming to see you. You teach me some lessons. Like, we gonna make
been to Hawaii?
Never been. So
it is my favorite place. If you booking a ticket, please let me know. I'm here to be a travel partner.
Okay.
I probably have been there 3 or 4 times. My favorite place.
Okay.
How would one become part of your organization? How do they, from the ways you could just mention about connecting with you?
Yeah, so they would just send me a message, either on Instagram or on Facebook. And that would be the best way to reach out to me concerning if you would love to be a part of our ministry. And then we can go from there, and I would get you our Google Doc form with your information and go from there.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing that.
Of course.
The second book we have here is Widow Care Initiative, a step-by-step guide for developing widow ministries. What was the genesis of this book?
The genesis is God kept putting in front of me. It was like not only my wife's sister's stories that I remember hearing, but as I was constantly through these years hearing how my sisters were not being properly cared for. It was this burning sensation that I didn't understand at first. I'm like, why do you keep bringing this to me? What do you want to do about this, God? How can we together show others what it truly means to properly care for the widow? Because the word of God says that. It says that, and it bleeds throughout the whole Bible. And I'm just saying, we in there. Like, we got a whole book called Ruth. Exhibit A. Like
I can tell you when I heard them, I was like, oh, that's me now when they were real.
Right. Exactly. So like even in the book of James, it talks about that God says in the word, pure and genuine religion is in caring for the orphans and the widows. And of course, Paul is assisting Pastor Timothy, and he gives almost a whole chapter during his time period of what that looks like to care for the widow, because the church, the body is supposed to care for a widow who is in dire need. And so God just continued to show me, like, we got to do something about this because we're bleeding in this area. And I say bleeding because to me, while we appreciate the meal train for 2 months, we appreciate it. We appreciate it. And you check the box. You did. You helped create a meal, or you sent a gift card for a meal. But she don't really start living till after the meal train stops. And that for me really is where this book, the essence of it came from, is because we have to be able to understand, like, her first year is a blur. Her first year, she's like, is this really happening? Did we have life insurance? Am I getting a lump sum? He didn't have no life insurance. Can I still afford to live where we live? I got children in activities that are clear across two parts of the city. I got one in soccer, one in this. She's like, how am I going to figure this out? Now, family, if they're close by, wonderful. But oftentimes we don't live that close to family because we have our own family. And so now she's like sitting at the dining room table, like, what we finna do? How we finna do this? My husband used to take care of the car. I had a whole moment Saturday where I was like, oil change. I'm tired of going oil change. And then they want to ask you, do you want to sell your car? No. Like, unless we're doing a fair trade. I said, if you gonna give me no car payments, we can talk. I'm just saying. Now, I know not everybody privileged yet to be debt free of their car payment, but I'm just saying, that's a huge win. That's a huge win. And so for me, that's where this kind of came from. Is what can we as the body do beyond the meal train, at least for her first year, so she can get her bearings on understanding you are now the sole breadwinner for yourself, if it's just you, for you and your fur babies, because some of us have fur babies or pets. Not all of them have fur. I get it. And then some of us have children. And so like, we're not thinking beyond that they need food. And so that really is what I sat down and was like, okay, God, well, how are we finna do this?
Excellent point, because once the funeral is over, life is demanding.
Yeah.
And you had this two-person existing life. Like, who's taking out the trash? They did that. Who is going to shovel the snow? Who is going to do all those other things? Who's going to go grocery shop if I'm cooking? And you are still grasping with the reality. My husband died.
Yep.
And the sun is getting up every day and you have to go back to work and all of those different things. It is so much. I was going to read the purpose of the manual, but okay, even though you just kind of went over I'm going to read it anyway.
Okay.
This book was written to provide guidance on how to care for widows during the first year of loss, how to set up supportive systems, goals, and activities for your ministry, and how to create an effective, supportive, and well-rounded movement that not only supports widows, but changes how widowhood in your community experience it. So can a church or somebody reach out, or do you come and do speaking engagements and show them how, or do a workshop for them with this book?
I would be totally honored and open to that. Absolutely 100%.
Okay.
Because I think it's essential and it's important, and really like come and partner with, like, I know that there are widows in every little piece of the body. And so for me, coming to partner with you and show you like, this is easier than you think it is. And that's what I want to explore in this manual. That's why it's written. If you've got 100 people or you got 100,000, it's just that easy. And it's step by step in there, starting with, yes, we're going to acknowledge that she all the way lost her husband. But now you get to formulate a care team, or if you already have something like a care team implemented, now you guys can sit down and say, okay, how can we be more proactive than reactive the next time this happens? How can we fill in the gap? Well, that's what this is for. And so I would definitely be honored to come and walk you through the steps. I'm actually in the process of helping someone now get things started and get things moving, so that way they can have what we call, like you said, a safe space, but also a soft landing for where she knows she can go when all is said and done.
Because the reality is, it is the gold.
Yeah.
We stand before our congregation, our family and friends, and make this vow till death do us part. So if we have a marriage ministry, we should have this type of ministry to complement the inevitable. It's not if something happens. The idea, we rather end in this than divorce. This is what the goal looks like.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. And that's where like this burning for me. When I say this thing burn, it's not like the hot, like, because, I'm in seven. It's that burn of, God, how can we do better? Because once you know better, now like that, now there's no excuses. Like I looked at this as this, God, now is where this is in place. I said, God, now we really don't have an excuse. We really don't have an excuse. If we are all the way hooping and hollering for our singles who are like waiting to be married, and we all the way are doing things for them to, and I say in some places we're helping them to prepare, because that's a whole nother conversation.
It is. It is.
But we are guiding them and telling them like marriage, right? Marriage. Like I'm just like, oh my gosh, can we rest a little bit? Can we understand that? And just to acknowledge that piece really quickly, it's okay to be single.
It is.
I just need people to understand and rest assured, like it is okay to be single. Be okay with yourself first. I learned recently that once you are okay and at peace with self, when it's time, God will send. Like you ain't got to worry. Just live your whole life. Just live it to the full with Him. But then we talk about marriage, and I'm gonna be the first to acknowledge, like when I got married, honey, you couldn't tell me nothing. I was wife with the ring, like, ew, yeah. I felt like I rocked. And then you say the vow. Yeah. So we're gonna hit them periods. But here's one piece of advice that my mother-in-law, who I will give honor because we are walking into Mother's Day weekend, she told me early on when we hit a rough patch, before we really hit the rough patch, she said, you are going to experience every single one of those vows throughout your life with this son of mine. Whether you like it or not, put your feelings to the side. You're going to experience those. And of course, when you're young and in your 20s, you're like, yeah, okay, sure. Right now, we in the blissful honeymoon stage. I'm not trying to hear this. Like we argued, we got over it. But when life hit, and you say, oh, and you hit every single one of them vows, but then when you hit till death do us part, the wake-up call is like, oh, she meant that thing. Like that was real counsel that set in. And so for me, the one piece that we don't do across the pulpit is we hoop and holler, where my single people at? And then we say, where my married people at? Well, I'm neither one of them. How about we say, can we take a moment of silence to honor and to recognize our brothers and our sisters who are widows?
Because the reality is, we are the goal. If you want to highlight sustaining this good marriage, you want the singles to, aspire to get married. What happens when you have accomplished all of those things? What does that look like? Because now you have an opportunity to go, he did till death do you part. She did till death do you part. There's some nuggets to get over there. How did you do that thing? Because every 10 other people got divorced. How were you able to maintain that rigor? Good, bad, high, low, stank breath, don't want to be bothered you. Oh, I like you. No, I don't like you. But we committed to this. Those are the treasures that are missed because we have done a whole dang on thing.
A whole. Not a 180, a whole 360.
Yes.
And that's one of the things that I tell my wife sisters. I always encourage them every time I can to remind them that you get the privilege now to speak across the board to a single young lady, encourage a single young man, You get to encourage husband and wife. And then you get to encourage us, your sisters who are in this with you.
Yes.
Because you have lived all of that. And you are now a pillar in your community, in the body, because you've done the thing.
This has been such a rich conversation, but I want to just talk about, lastly, the sample widow care outline process. Step 1, assess the general needs. Step 2, build a support team. Step 3, create awareness. Step 4, develop outreach programs. Step 5, provide support services. Step 6, establish support groups. Step 7, ensure spiritual support. Step 8, educate the congregation. Step 9, monitor and evaluate. Step 10, celebrate and recognize. And there are subcategories here in describing this at length. But what made you cheer when I mentioned this of all the things in the book?
Because it's the outline. It's the process. And even when you get down to the nitty gritty, for me, it's about the widow's needs assessment. That all together combined with that, it's like I don't know, those that like pie, you can say pie or cake, whatever your favorite dessert is. But it's like that fullness thereof, that you took the time now to read this, to take it in. And one of the feedbacks that I got from a young lady who's not a widow, but her heart was moved to care for a widow. She got a hold of the book. She said, I read the first pages and I couldn't put it down. I just kept reading and kept reading. And then I had to get paper and pen, because then it was like the Holy Spirit was giving me ideas of the things that we could do and the things we can do. And then I wrote this whole long thing down. She said, I submitted it to my pastor's wife and was like, we got to do this. She said, I'm so glad that you wrote this book. And that for me is what that type of reaction where somebody's like, yes, finally. And to have the ideas to kind of get things started and then allow the Holy Spirit to kind of just take over. That's what I want. That was the goal. Because I said, God, I would have never wrote this book. I had this moment where it was, God, if we're going to write this book, you know how you said all scripture was God breathed? I'm gonna need you to read it on these pages. I'm gonna need you to take the pen and my fingers and do what it is that you desire to do. Because this really, for real, the author need to say, God, it don't need to say even me. That for me is really what this is. God, you wrote this because you saw the need that needs to be taken care of for your elite. That's what, to me, he has dubbed us as his elite. How are we caring for the elite? We weren't, and we're not in some cases and in some areas. And so now I'm like, God, now they don't have no excuse. Wherever you want this book to go and to reach and to whom you place it in their hands, I always am like, God, bless them. Now that you have opened their eyes and their ears to see and to hear, I say, Holy Spirit, speak to them. That's why every time for me, you'll notice I'm praying in there. In my chapter and in this Widow Care Initiative, no, we need to open up in prayer, because I need your heart to be set right, your spirit to receive. I've had a couple leaders that have gotten and said, I felt conviction. I said, well, that's the Holy Spirit job. That wasn't mine. I'm gonna let him handle that. Like, I have no words for that. Conviction, that's between you and God.
Amen. Mm-hmm. I am so grateful to have this conversation with you. I've asked you a lot of questions. Did we cover everything that you thought that you wanted to go over in this discussion?
I would just like to say one more thing. The last thing I want to say is I just want to encourage our widow community, but also even widower community. While we as widows may feel like we're overlooked, I also want to admonish and say, brothers who are widowers, we see you and we hear you. This book, while it has widow on it, really can be implemented for our brothers too. It really could if you see it, it bridges the gap to where it causes us as the body to come together to serve one another like they did back in the times of the book of Acts. It's where we might not be selling our things, but I mean, we might. I mean, there's some that got to sell some of their furniture to get new furniture or to get rid of because they're getting new or whatever. But it caused me to look like we could really become the church again and be leading in this area versus, I wouldn't say fail, just do better in. And so I just want to encourage us as a body to say, yes, we can do this together. Let's partner with one another and serve one another again as a whole. Doesn't matter if you're a widow, married, single, a brother or a sister. We can come together and lead in this. So that way we become, again, the standard to the world and not the world to us.
Absolutely. Florine, if you were to talk, if you were able to maintain everything you have experienced in the past 8 years, and you could talk to yourself the day after Omar passed, what would you tell her?
I would say, don't give up. There is better.
Mm.
Yeah.
Thank you. Now I'm going to do something a little different. Any questions you have of me? I try to give my guests an opportunity to flip the script a little bit.
Okay, flip the script. Absolutely. I do have.
Oh, she can't. Okay.
Oh, hey, you know how you was prepared? I was like, ooh, if I get the opportunity, yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, I do. I have 2 questions. One is, when did you know that you should be the voice for Tina and Widowhood in your podcast?
My current husband had a cousin who passed. And he went to the funeral. I was not able to go at that time. I had a procedure done and I couldn't travel. But I eventually was able to travel to the same area and I met the widow and his cousin and aunt, and they was grilling me in it, but whole nother story. But I was able to meet her in person. Forward, it was her husband's first birthday since he had passed. And I reached out to her and I saw the post and I was like, oh. And I just texted her. I said, hey, you want to talk? And she goes, no, I'll talk to you tomorrow. I said, and I reminded her, this is a path I have traveled. And if you want to share, I'm here. And she called me and we stayed on the phone way past my bedtime. But I knew what it was like to be in a space that I didn't have to qualify my words or validate. I could just have that raw conversation because somebody else understood that without me trying to but it don't mean this, but it does mean this, and just talk. So holding that space has been done for me, and I wanted to do that. And we got off the phone and I was like, and God said, what are you going to do with the next person? I said, ain't nobody calling me this late. Like, what are we talking about? Like, if they do, they're going to get the do not disturb because Tina, check, we out. And God was like, no, the next person that needs. And I was like, you're only one person. You're only so thin. And this is important to me. My whole husband died.
Yeah.
I don't need to be the tether to somebody else. When you become widowed, you are trying to remember your own voice, your confidence, the ability that I now need to stand firm in my own ability. So I knew I wasn't not supposed to create a system that would make me the focal point, but a system that would create community and encourage people and reminding them that they are still capable. And my mother, who is 80, had a podcast. And God was like, well, what about a podcast? I was like, I got a full-time job. Like, where we going to have time for all of that? Like, I don't know how that works. And the one thing I have learned, this life has an ending. And when I get there, I don't want to be, I was arguing and whining with God about things that he was telling me to do. Then if you're going to tell me to do this, then I'm going to need, here we go. And I was like, okay, God, I'm going to do this. But it wasn't just do something, it was doing something in excellence, because we talking about dead stuff. So ain't nobody really want to do that unless it's like, and I was like, okay. And so God connected me with a company that does our editing and does everything. And I was like, did you see the price tag for all the stuff? Like Lord, like how that work though? And so here I am, still trying to negotiate. And I called to put my current husband on my life insurance. And the company said, ma'am, your husband's on the health insurance. And he was like, well, your husband's on here. I was like, this is awkward. I was like, what name of what husband you got on there? I had never taken Mark off.
Wow.
And not only that, they refunded me from Mark's passing. And this is now 3 years later for the delta of what I paid. And that amount was the exact amount for the startup equipment that I needed to do this.
Won't he do it? Wow.
And I was like, I guess we about to start a nonprofit and I do a podcast. I cannot back out of this.
You sure can. Not with all that evidence and all that proof, for sure.
Yes.
So my last question is, what would you tell a widow who is walking in this journey where she's like, you know what? I do see myself with a companion and I do want to date again and maybe even get married again. What would you say as a form of encouragement to her heart?
That is an excellent question, because even if you don't want to get married, it's a question that hovers in the community, because it's like, we're like girls, like, girl, what do you think about that?
Exactly.
First of all, love yourself. Make yourself a priority. Make yourself the whole dang on thing. Make sure that you will come to a place in dealing with your husband's passing that you come to go, okay, this was his time. This was the situation. Your husband could have been murdered. It could have been a fentanyl overdose. It could have been so many different things.
Yeah.
But his time in this world is complete. And come to a place that you find your own joy and happiness in the version of life that you are in now. Do not rest that responsibility on finding the right person again, because now you've given your power to somebody else and being tethered to your happiness to only then, because that is a space for you and God. That is not a space to give to somebody else. And I don't say this lightly. This was my process to pray and be like, God, this ain't like what, like, you sure now? Because the one thing, I had a good marriage.
Yeah.
I was not trying to be out here because I'm about to be thirsty, need some thighs, and be having a bad marriage. And then we got divorced and I'm pissed because I should have just minded my business because I just wanted to get laid and do something. So I had to examine for myself, what purpose was I dating? I wanted to get remarried. The other thing that you talked about, what am I looking for? My daughter asked me that. She said, Mom, what is it different now dating than when you're looking for dad? That was 18-year-old Tina in the military wanting to get somebody. We were going to have children. Girl, I ain't even got a uterus. Ain't nobody having no babies on this round. That's not on the table. I have been through breast cancer, all this stuff ain't tight like it was. We done pushed out a couple of babies. You have to show somebody this. I've been with the same dude for 32 years.
Right.
What? Hold my hand? That felt weird.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, by the grace of God, I was not in a situation that I needed nobody to take care of.
Yeah.
My husband and I had made an intentional plan that when the inevitable happened, the other person would be secure. I still worked the job. So that took the pressure off of me economically to not have to rush out and try to find somebody to meet some realistic human needs to be able to provide and take care of myself.
That's good.
And if that's what you're dealing with, maybe to see what needs to downsize financially so you don't push yourself into a relationship that's not sustainable.
Mm.
In my dating experience, I made accountability with my sisters to be involved in it. I'm one of 5 siblings. There are 4 girls and 1 brother. A dating app? Like, I met my husband, we lived in the same barracks. What are we doing? Like, online?
I know, girl. I know. Ooh, no.
So I'm out here making a profile. My sisters are looking like, don't say that, you say too much, and all this other stuff. And so all of that, but they had been single. I had been my only sibling that was married. So I was like, help. And I let my friends be involved in that process. It's like, no, ain't nobody doing that. Like, what? No.
Right.
I let them be a voice in the process. I had accountability group and friends that loved me enough to know I was still living, but trying to make sure they were the outside eyes of what I was not seeing.
Yeah.
And I understand this widow journey has the potential to lose friendship. It has the potential for relationships to change. That was not my story. My friends and family have leaned in and stayed there. And so I had them to rest in this process.
That's so good.
And if you have children, adult children, I wasn't asking for their permission, but I was telling them this is what's about to happen.
Right.
That was for me important. Having smaller children, there's something else to navigate as far as when you want someone to be in your children's life. How do you want to involve them?
Right.
In the other thing, do not give wife energy to a girlfriend space.
Mm.
Because we are accustomed to having wife posture.
Yeah. Wow.
Knowing how to date somebody just because they look cute, you like them, you can't be giving them everything. That comes off kind of sketchy in this society.
Yeah.
I like them, they like me, but you don't know them yet.
Mm-hmm.
It takes time.
Yes.
We yearn to be back
so
in that
good.
space, and we can start giving somebody too much space clout that they have not earned yet. And to take time to develop a relationship, ask them questions,
So good.
find out about them, and know what you want. And you can say swipe left because dating is a job interview. Those good job interviews, you have to have the panel conversation, other different stuff. And if you going, well, I think, baby, we is too grown to think anything. Either I told you and you said something to me, or it does not exist. Are we monogamous? Were you always a dude? I want to know every different thing. Ask somebody their credit score, meet their family. If you cannot do that, whatever those questions are for you, bring your whole voice, because we have buried a husband.
Yeah.
And for my sisters who were in a bad marriage, it can be gun shy to put yourself back out there, because it's like you may be relieved that you didn't have to get a divorce and the marriage ended this way, but you may be shy and apprehensive to be put in a bad situation. This is where you need to pray and check into what the Spirit of God is telling you and guiding you. We can't be like, well, I trust God with my tithe, but I'm not going to trust him with my life over here. I need him in everything.
Yes.
Those would be the things that come to mind. That was part of my journey that I found helpful for me.
That's wonderful. I appreciate it. And I know that whoever's listening, they're going to eat it up. Yeah. Yeah. Because I am.
Thank you for this conversation. I want to say something to our listeners, and then I would like for you to close out with any final comments. I want to say thank you for being part of this conversation. I am so sorry to the person that you have lost that has drawn you here, but I'm glad that you found us. And I know this conversation will be empowering. I look forward to speaking with you next week.
And I just want to say thank you so much, Tina, for having me. I'm grateful to be able to just share. And of course, I'm always hopeful for the one that this made the difference for. And just know that God is going to bless you and keep you. And he's going to protect you in any means. And then by all means, he loves you. Thanks, Tina.
Thank you.
Thank you for spending another episode with Widowhood Real Talk. If you found the contents of today helpful, share the episode to anyone you know who may need it. Subscribe to the show and tune in to Widowhood Real Talk each week. Then, visit widowhood-realtalkwithtina.org to join the community and access additional resources. Remember, you are not alone in this journey.